What's up, guys? Charles with Team COG, fresh back from Nationals, and I thought I'd showcase you guys the experience and the deck that I took, which of course was Nekroz here, and I want to just go ahead and be clear, I did not do that well, but however, a lot of players did not do that well. I recently saw like a video from YuGiOh, from Yasin and stuff like that, that they seemingly lost to the very same thing that I also lost to, but I lost to, I guess the difference is that I had a silver bullet. Every deck was maining Droll, so like, you know, I'd went in knowing that I could be Drolled, but I really put it on the probability of like not every one of my opponents is going to open Droll all the time, and actually, I was wrong. Every opponent I played opened Droll, but the times that I did lose and the times that I win, the deck was able to do what it did, playing through 1 to 2 hand traps and being able to successfully set up a board that was, you know, enough interaction to essentially stop the opponent from playing. YuGiOh is still a hell of a card. And then the games that I lost, which are very crazy, was just due to like variance and just bricking. Like, if this deck performed at Nationals the way that it performed, you know, in testing. Let's see, did I say that right? If the deck performed in testing the way it performed at Nationals, there we go, I would not have taken this deck. This deck in testing performed phenomenal. Again, knowing that Droll was out there, I knew I was just going to take the risk, but I took this deck for sentimental value, not so much so because I thought it was like the best deck to play. For my first ever Nationals I ever went to, I took Nekroz when it was literally brutalized and beaten. There was no Shearit, 1 YuGiOh, 1 YuGiOh, and stuff like that. So I decided to take it for sentimental value because I've thought that the deck very well could keep up in the current meta, and not even to lie, it can. Like, if the deck goes uninterrupted, it still puts up, even through 1 or 2 hand traps, it still puts up a pretty decent board that, unless you're Malice, most even Mitsurugi, YuGiOh, and stuff like that struggle to break through. But if you're Malice, you're just going to cook it because all the interruptions that this deck puts up is, needless to say, have to deal with banishing. So I'm going to show you guys my profile and stuff like that. Please remember, if you guys enjoy this type of content, hit that like button, ding that notification bell. If you guys want to support the channel directly, become a member, all that stuff. It was awesome to meet everyone at Nats who came up and introduced themselves. I had a wonderful time. And also, if you guys don't know, the reason the guy to knock me out of the main event was none other than the man, the myth, the most humble, genuine content creator I think that exists is Ruggles. Ruggles was the man who ended up delivering the final blow that made me go play side events. And in side events, it was all right, except for I brick hands. Like I said, in the amount of testing I did prior to this, the amount of like games, test hands, and all the matches like I did through like Dueling Book, Omega, and stuff like that, I never really opened unplayable. I always opened like per se a weak starter, but then I would have more hand traps to back up the list, or back up the hand I should say, and it was okay. But this was the first time in all the amount of testing where I went and I opened unplayable, or I was only opening 1 hand trap, and the only hand trap I opened all day long was Droll, and every time I opened Droll it was against my Malice matchups, and that's just terrible. And I guess one game against the guy who was playing Goblin Biker Fiendsmith, he was on the feature match. He ended up making day 2. I ended up opening Ash and then Ghost Bell post-side against him, and he had like 2 cards left in hand. I Ashed the Requiem. He called by using the 3rd card in his hand, so now he's down to 2. I ended up belling the call by, and I was like, surely this should be enough. And then he hard opened Fiendsmith Engraver, and then it continued to, you know, combo after that into Fiendsmith, and then Garbunga is a heck of a card. So. But most of the time, I just opened unplayable, like truly unplayable. Twice in the entire event, I just couldn't play. I had to pass, and the only hand trap I opened was literally Droll. And it's just crazy because in this list, I forsook the board breaker approach and played a lot more hand traps and adjusted the list to play more hand traps. And the fact that the only hand trap I was seeing is like 1 is just variance at the end of the day. There's nothing I can do about that. When the numbers and when the numbers are crunched and it says I should be opening 2 or more hand traps, and I'm not doing it, I can't do anything when I don't do it. So anyway. Enough of giving excuses and stuff. I still had a blast regardless. Like I said, I took this deck to have fun more so than, and sentimental value more so than I planned to do good. We ended up getting 1 win against Lunalight, which was my most feared matchup, and now I'm moving forward. If Lunalight's going to be seen or going to be prevalent, I'm going to change 1 card in the extra deck, which I'll show you when we get there, to the Lunalight Perfume Dancer. So, sorry guys, 4 minutes in, let's just go ahead and jump on into it. I was onto, this is like the triple Brionic. This is what makes this deck. Another thing that's crazy is the fact that I bricked, like hard bricked, when I play so many starters. There's like 12, I think, 12 starters, 3 YuGiOh, 3 Prep, 3, 6, 9, like 9 starters, excuse me. I thought I said 12, but 9 forms of starters, like 1 card starters, and then there's literally multiple 2 card starters and multiple 2 card combo iterations and stuff, and I didn't see a single one. But anyway, 3 YuGiOh, you just need to play 3. It's a searcher. I played, for the little guys, 1 Clauseless and 1 YuGiOh. From the first list, I was playing 2 YuGiOh. I decided to cut it down, again, to make space for hand trap. And truly, I didn't miss this. In testing, the deck performed phenomenal. I was opening the correct amount of ratios and stuff like that. And the theory behind it was, if I'm forced to go first and I eat a Droll, I should be able to make Baguska and have hand traps on my own to protect myself. And most of the time in testing, that's what happened. But here at Nats, never happened. In fact, if I made Baguska pass, I only had like Droll or nothing to like protect myself. And if I had Droll, it was against the Malice matchups, like I said earlier, and they just cooked me because they don't care about Droll at all. For the big names, one Rebear, one Metaltron, one Trish, and one Valk. I actually did use, I showed a combo video a little bit ago, utilizing the Valks to draw 2, and I ended up using it twice. One time it was successful in getting me into side deck cards and more engine to be able to put up the big board, and then one time it drew me into multiples that I already had, which of course, again, I have no control over that. But again, it was nice doing this. The Valk Trish's effect came up once to be able to protect, and I actually trished my opponent, and you should have heard the table when I resolved Trish's effect. They thought we were back in 2015, which is kind of wild. But this is essentially it for the ratio. I know people are going to be like, well, this seems kind of like a very compact, and that's exactly the point, is I really didn't want to open multiple names. Nekroz of a Rebear and YuGiOh could potentially be played at 2, but again, trying to keep the deck as low count as I can. It's at 44 currently, so I just wanted to limit that. And actually, it never came up that I needed a second Rebear, needed the second YuGiOh. I think this deck is very well at pivoting and adjusting its plays to be able to, play with what you got. But that's it for the ritual monsters. Again, this is 369 ritual monsters, which is pretty high. But it's essentially, 4 of these ritual monsters do something. 5 of the ritual monsters do something in the hand. The battle phase effect did come up against my Lunalight matchup. The one match that I won, I had YuGiOh established along with the Rebear and the Metaltron. He just summoned out Leo Dancer and tried to go battle phase, and I had Valk to be able to protect myself. Since YuGiOh is out first, the Liger was negated, so past the turn, then the following turn, I was just going to be able to use the Metaltron to banish the Liger for sure. But yep, that's it for the ritual monsters. Moving on to the main deck, triple advance. Let's just, one of the... I don't actually, upon playing, I don't think advance is the best starter we have. It just dies everything. I think actually Amelia is a little bit better just simply because it can special itself out without taking up your normal summon. But at the event, we were able to pick up the Starlight Amelias. I think you have to. There was a world where I would argue and say you can get to take one Amelia out because you don't want to open multiples, but it's just so good. And again, consistency you want to have. You have, again, 1-card starter. Brio is a 1-card starter. Prep is a 1-card starter. And then, there's 12 1-card starters. You count, I count the Nadir package as the Nadir Servant as being a 1-card starter. So you just want to, Amelia does very well within 2-card searches, especially since we're still opting to play the Great Sorcerer here. To be able to count for the two-card combo that allows you to end on that crazy board and allows you to have pretty crazy stuff. And then one shirt here. There's a few times Great Sorcerer came up. So I was testing with the Ariel for a little bit, but I decided to cut it. And then if you're not playing 3 names, there's no point in playing more Rebears. So I decided to just cut Ariel because there was too many times I was opening 2 of these guys. And these guys are essentially bricks because they don't do anything by themselves. They only get effects if they're tributed, and the only way you're able to do that is if you're using the Ritual Summon or a Rebear to be able to tribute them. So I wanted to limit that. Great Sorcerer came up quite a bit by either getting Valkyries into rotation or by just hard searching out the YuGiOh, which then if you're able to search YuGiOh, you're able to get access to the ritual spell by the combo sequence. So then you're able to essentially use the same amount of resources you'd use to search out the YuGiOh and the Kaleidoscope. You can search out essentially Metaltron plus Mirror. So then you can potentially get to a Rebear YuGiOh Metaltron or a Rebear YuGiOh Clausulus or something in those forms or fashion, right? That's it for the main deck monsters. I know there's going to be a few people that comment, I like a combo this does, I like a combo that does, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, just play the deck the way that you want. There's too many times in my testing, like I said, I had a lot of good testing that really made me feel really confident with this list. And that was because I got tired of opening these guys in my hand and not having any way to trigger them, because you got to remember, you're playing into a format of Droll, so it felt bad even opening these because of the ability of, once the Droll resolved and these were in your hand, they were useless, right? Except for Sure. Sure, it's an exception because it counts as the full tribute no matter where it's at, but Great Sorcerer felt bad. But I feel like Great Sorcerer is needed because the best 2-card combo the deck can have that ends on Nekroz inboard is Amelia plus Brio. Moving on to the Nekroz ritual spells, Double Mirror, 1 Kaleidoscope, 1 Mirror, and 1 Cycle. One of my unplayable hands literally was this right here, and then Droll and Lockbird against Malice. So, there's nothing you can do, and that's just the variance of the game, essentially, that you can't beat, sadly. You just have no control over that. But this is a pretty good ratio. People had to read Kaleidoscope, people had to read Mirror, people had to read Cycle, and people had to read this card, and they're like, yo, this card's kind of cracked. So hopefully it puts some more people on this list, because I feel like it was super powerful. But yeah, that's it for the Nekroz. Moving on, I guess we have the non-Nekroz. We have 1 Maximus, triple Nadir. This engine's pretty wild. I decided to cut from my original list the Fleur-de-Lis and the Ecclesia because less bricks. And again, trying to get that list as close to... I didn't want to go over 45, but as close to 40 as I possibly can. And this is pretty cool because essentially, even if you open Maximus and you open full combo, you're still able to get Maximus in rotation because you just use the advance and whatever you summon out with it. To overlay into Dugaris effect to draw 2, discard 1, link the Dugaris from the extra monster zone into the gravity controller, banish Dugaris, summon Maximus, dump 2, combo, there you go. Nadir was really good in the sense that you could add back from graveyard, so even in like the worst case scenarios, if you've already exhausted this, Nadir grabbing back the Maximus from the graveyard was really nice. Nadir also, again, the reason I say Nadir is a one-card starter is because Nadir gets you access to this gets you access to Herald then gets you access to Brio gets you access to Advance. So like, again, another one-card starter, but again, we lose to Droll. That's just literally, just understand that, guys. Like, if you guys are still sitting here wondering, like, Droll is the silver bullet of this deck. You gotta, it is what it is. And then for the final engine cards was the Preparation of Rites. This card's pretty crazy, especially when you can add back from the graveyard. It allows you for longevity and gets you extra uses out of those other ritual spells that you've already used, such as Cycle, Kaleidoscope, Mirror, etc. So, yep, not much more can be said here. Now, on to the non-engine. So, I was able to fit quite a bit of non-engine in this deck, and I was really happy with it. And in testing, prior to the event, I was opening different ratios, etc. You know, the worst ratio being Fuaros plus Droll. That just felt bad, but I understand it's going to happen. So, but again, like in testing, it did fine. Like seeing these two hand traps was nice. Being able to throw Ash and Imperm, even though Imperm was less impactful, but Ash and Imperm I feel like are very low impact, but together they can kind of like promote a half board depending on the hand of what the opponent has and stuff like that. But anyway, triple Ash Blossom, triple Droll, triple Imperm, triple Fuaros. This is 12 cards for the hand trap stuff. I mean, not really much more can be said. Like, I mean, Droll just, again, it's just the only hand trap I seen was Droll, and the only time I saw Droll was literally against Malice, and that's just bad luck. But these cards I feel like are okay. I really have thought about playing a list. I might do it moving forward. I do think after this I want to try and like set the deck down for a hot minute, play something else, and then come back and visit it. But I think I might touch base on getting rid of the Metaltron and playing 2 Trishulas, and try to see if I can fit in Dominus Impulse as another non-engine somewhere in the deck list. But you have to play Droll. The reason you play Droll is so when you get Drolled, you have Droll, you can Droll like the Mitsurugi Raizul or whatever deck you're playing, as long as it's not Malice, back and be able to, you know, hold the line. And then, of course, since we are technically playing the last final 3 engine cards here are Tactics, Call By, and Crossout. It does have the ability to open Crossout and be able to call by or cross out a Droll too. But really, it's not too bad. Like I said, I know Imperm's fallen out of favor because of its like particular matchup. It's like strong and weak, etc. But against this deck, man, when you end up eating multiple hand traps, in testing, of course, when you eat multiple hand traps, you still need to have something to back up your board because on average, if you eat 1 or 2 hand traps, your inboard is going to be a Rebear and Unicorn, which is still strong, right? But if you have like, it does not that strong to stop everything, but if you have Rebear and Unicorn plus, say, Imperm Ash, Imperm Droll, that's good. Like, that's what you want. Essentially, you were able to hand loop your opponent, and then now you're going to be able to use these cards to keep, essentially, your opponent in check while saving, like, a Rebear, and then that's preventing them from drawing or searching or summoning out to out Unicorn, etc. But Molchami never even saw it, man, but in testing it came up quite a bit, and I felt like it was like the most prominent Molchami you could play because, again, everyone's special summoning. It's a good against all matchups. It allows you to draw into your engine, which I feel like a lot of times, a lot of my matchups that I did lose, I just got sacked by Droll because I looked at their inboard, especially the Goblin Biker Fiendsmith. His inboard was strong. I had one of the best hands I've ever seen in my life, and I was like, there's 100% I can crack this board with my like engine, especially like with what I had, but my first search got Drolled, and then yeah, so it is what it is. Not to like try to go over Droll here, but I think it was the curse. I was really searching for that whole day one or Friday, Saturday, trying to find the one more QCR Droll, and I think it was just the curse of Droll. Like, since I was looking so hard for it, the game and the universe was like, well, you're going to get hit by it every round, every turn, everywhere you go, so it is what it is. But that's like, man, Droll is just such an issue. I feel like I'm always so 50-50 with it. I'm not even going to try and go into the whole Droll debate, but I feel like it's necessary when going first, but it does sure suck when you're going second into Droll, and you can't even attempt to play the game because after your first search, you get Drolled, and it's like, well, now it's really one side. Kind of reminds me of Max C. Like, whoever opens Max C or is able to build their board with Max C on top of it just wins, and I'm not really peculiar about that type of gameplay, etc. But anyway, this was my extra. Double Herald, double Entis. Essentially, these are the Nadir Servant and the Maximus, and essentially the Kaleidoscope targets that you can play. Toad, Farigite. So these right here were used for Nadir Servant, Maximus, Kaleidoscope. Essentially, these guys were really good at breaking boards. Garou to draw, Toad to add back, Farigite to draw. So this is pretty standard, I feel like. One card that should be here, and I'll go ahead and put it right here. This is Daigusto Emerald. I never came up, but this right here could also be the Moonlight Perfume Dancer, because it would give the main deck the ability to out that Liger Dancer by making its attack subtract by its defense, because Liger is only affected by Lunalight cards. So essentially you go Nadir Servant, Kaleidoscope, whatever, dump that, be able to use that, target the Liger. Liger becomes 300 attack, and then your normal summon Advance or whatever your normal summon can attack over it. and there you go. But I had Emerald in here for the time being. I got a hold of a Perfume Dancer to borrow from my buddy Rico, so I went to side events prepared, but then I never saw Lunar Light in the side events, so it is what it is. But yep, Emerald, Dugaris for ability to draw, you know, and perform the combo if you hard open Maximus. Plan Baguska for when you get, essentially, Drolled. This small package here, the Zodiac package with a Zeus. This actually won me a game by being able to, like, essentially I got Drolled. And all they had was Droll, and like their inboard was very minuscule, so I just literally, instead of making a Baguska pass, I just climbed into Chakanine, this, swung for 0, made Zeus, sent everything, and then passed turn, and then just set on a Zeus, and then that was enough to provide me one more turn to be able to play. And then for the final 2 cards, we do have Dynamundo and the Gravity Controller to be able to turn whatever you put up here. It doesn't always have to be Dugaris, but essentially whatever you put up here, you can potentially turn this into the controller to make the Maximus live if you draw into Maximus instead of Nadir later on. So it's okay. Dynamundo's actually pretty cool. I did a really cool play with it. So the bad thing is Mundo can't bring back the Nekroz monsters because they have to be special ritual summoned, which kind of suck, but it is what it is. But you can still add them to hand. So like you still, in going second, you can still summon this, spin a card, and then during the opponent's turn, you can bounce back a Valk or Trishula. So then that card gets added back to your hand. So you can either use the hand protection effect, the hand trap effect of them to protect from targeting or battle, or you set yourself up to be able to go Divine Mirror to summon out whatever you add back. So then it allows you to have that like crazy recursion. Which is really cool. Only came up once, but yeah, that's it, guys. Pretty much, again, if you guys wanted to, Daigusto should definitely be that Lunalight Perfume Dancer because it never came up. But there was a few matches up against, like, Ruggles, who was on Lunalight, where I opened a Dear Servant, and I couldn't do anything about his Liger because it is what it is. Whereas, at least if I played that, I could Nadir Servant, dump the Perfume Dancer, search Maximus, Chainlink won that, target the Liger, and then Chainlink 2 Droll, so then I cry regardless. But at least I would have a main deck out for that Towers S card, which I feel like is a struggle if you don't. I'll quickly show you guys my side deck, even though side deck is always up to personal preference, and I'll explain a little bit of reason why I played the side deck I did. Triple Slayer, dump Herald, dump Entis, dump Garura, draw right. Like, this card was pretty crazy. Even against Malice, I did think, you know, jump Tri-Brigade to refresh the hand, you know, draw 1, put back 1, at least, you know, cycle through something. Never got to really use it. In testing, actually, this card, out of all the testing and stuff I did, I've only ever came across this card once, and when I did, I came up with it in all 3. So I really didn't get enough to practice it. I just went with the theory behind that you should be able to, like, open, especially if you're main decking Molchummies, you should be able to draw it, right? Ghost Spell, because I felt like the Bestials were bad into Malice, but good into Mitsurugi, but I wanted a card that would cover it all, and Ghost Spell seemed to cover Malice and Mitsurugi, so I decided to just go ahead and just play that, and it was alright. Triple Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. This card actually, well, I mean, I shouldn't say it actually won me a game. In testing, it was phenomenal. It was fantastic in testing because when you go first, you can use the Valk line to end up drawing into it, potentially, and if you open a Dear Servant along that, you draw 4 cards, you have a good chance to get to it, and every time I flip this card against Mitsurugi or Malice, I win, especially with a Reed Bear and Unicorn already established. Pretty much good. But at the event, at Nationals, never saw it once. Salesman, you decide this again when you know you're going first, call Droll. No matter what, it always is going to be Droll. That's what's sad. Even though I watched the Gym Knight top 4 and he main decked it, I kind of thought, like, maybe we should main deck it. And in my testing of main decking this, because I tried Salesman and Ultimate Slayer to be main decked, Salesman just felt awful because I'd open Salesman, call Droll, eat Ash Imperm, and I'd be like, wow, I'd much rather Salesman have been like some sort of extender or something like that rather than call Droll. So I thought that maybe it'd be just better to side it in because essentially, even though it's being main deck, it's just really good post-side. You just go in because if you don't get Drolled game 1, you end up winning. You know game 2 or game 3, you know that Droll's going to be there, so it's just better to have that answer. So then you have technically 5 ways to address Droll. And of course, 3 Lancia. Lancia was very interesting because it does hurt us as well. If you want to side this essentially when you know you're going second against Malice, not when you're going first. And the reason being is because your Reed Bear has to negate and banish. Your Metaltron banishes. Your Trish during your turn banishes. So if you end up trying to set up your board, you end up shutting off all your stuff too. So if Lancia doesn't completely stop them, which sometimes it can, which most of the time it does. I'm not even gonna lie. Every time I resolve Lancia, even though like everyone's like, oh, if they see the administered cards, they play through it. I've not really seen them play through it, but under the chances that they are able to, you just shut off all your interactions. So I found if I am forced to play Lancia, my inboard is normally going to be like Unicorn Clauseless in the sense of my inboard, which isn't enough, but it isn't a lot, but it's enough to potentially protect Unicorn from getting whacked by Malice. Just do take that in mind when siding. So I'd only side this when I knew I was going second into Malice, essentially. But that's it for the side deck. I was really pleased with the side deck, truly, and I'm probably going to rock this side deck for quite a while. But yeah, that's it, guys, for the deck profile. I had a blast at Nats. Thank you for everyone who came up and said hi and introduced yourself. It was a pleasure meeting you. and all that stuff. I just look forward to going again, and I just stay tuned for more Nekroz content. I do plan to do some Infernoble stuff now that Nats is finally over. I can sit down and like really hit hard with the Flame Swordsman stuff and find out what type of list I like of that. But yeah, for all you guys out there who, you know, made it to Nats, congratulations. For all those who made day 2, congratulations. For all those who ended up topping and making top 64, congratulations. And yeah, everybody out there, stay safe, stay healthy. This is Charles from Team COG signing out.